is Ariana, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. I have my wicked candle here and I have my hot chocolate candle here that I'm going to light because the hot chocolate candle smells the best. I have like a giant version of it and it is literally amazing. It makes my whole house smells like brownies, and if you haven't smelled this candle before, I highly recommend it. It's so good. So if you hear loud noises upstairs, we have some people over and they're upstairs and they're talking, so bear with me. You may hear just noises like in the background, but I'm hoping my mic muffles them enough that it won't really bother you because I have music that plays over them anyway. So hopefully it's okay. This is from the author on Reddit, and it was in, I think, a scary story section, but they asked me to link their actual Reddit page, so I have them. So it's the Scarebium Reddit page and the author. This one's titled Train Creep. Kathy could sense someone staring at her from the far end of the train carriage. Instinctively, she turned around and saw a balding, middle-aged man looking back at her. The man neither smiled nor acknowledged Kathy when their eyes met. Creepy, she thought. Surprise, surprise, he had a wedding ring on as well. The man was bland in appearance. His beige suit was cheap, his beige shoes even cheaper. His briefcase was old, the leather peeling like skin from a sunburnt face. He was neither attractive nor ugly, but his face was definitely well weathered with regret. Reassuringly, the train from Fenchurch Street to Shoeburyness was full. She went back to reading her book, but her concentration has been stolen by the intrusive glare of her unwanted admirer. As the train pulled into Lee on C Station, several people alighted. Kathy glanced very subtly at where the man was seated to see if he was getting off. Instead, he had moved 2 rows closer. Despite there being a good 10 or 15 people still seated, Kathy decided to get off and wait at the platform for the following train. Something about the man made her uneasy, so she picked up her bag and managed to step onto the platform just before the whistle blew. As the train began to move on, Kathy was compelled to look back at the carriage. The man had now moved to a window seat. He started to turn his head towards her in a particular manner, but Kathy looked away. Freak. The next train was due in 10 minutes. Kathy texted her childcare to let them know that she would be a little bit late to collect her boy Charlie. On pressing send, Kathy became annoyed at the whole situation. Why do men of this age act like pervs? What would his wife think? What if he had daughters? How would he feel if they were being intimidated like this? The early evening was becoming colder, and a imperious wind was flying around the platform. Kathy was pleased that there were a handful of people standing around. Some even looked normal. Eventually, the train arrived and Kathy hopped on. The carriage was warm, but she sat near the door just to be safe. I'll be glad to get home tonight, she thought. Thankfully, the train was only going to Shoeburyness to her stop. She glanced out the window at the passing cockle sheds and coastal buildings. Turning back around, she saw the man now sitting in the next seat next to her. He twisted his head unnaturally like an owl and stared straight at her. Kathy screamed. The couple of teenagers at the other end jumped at the sound and came tentatively towards her seat. The taller of the two had a knife in his hand. The weird pitch of her howl had unnerved them. When they reached Kathy's seat, they asked if she was okay. Kathy turned her head in an unsettling way and stared straight at them. And that's how they end the story. So that's so fucking creepy. I don't even have any explanation for that. That's just super weird. I hate that so much. And thank you so much for allowing me to read your story. That was super fucking creepy. I'm gonna move on to my Gmail because I do have quite a bit of emails from you guys that I need to read, and they have been sitting here, some of them since like November. So I'm going to jump over to my email now. This one is from just someone in my email. I'm not gonna say their names because I don't know if they want me to say their names or not, but this one says, trigger warning, suicide and car crashes and death. When I was about 5 years old, my grandmother showed me a picture of my 2 aunts and her. When I looked at the picture, I saw more than 3 people. I said, who is the little girl with blonde hair? She didn't know who I was talking about at first, but when she looked at the picture more closely, she saw the little girl. About 3 years later, I remember my grandmother talking to my aunt about a dream she had. She had a dream about a man, and then he told her, I buried them in the closet and killed them. Keep in mind, my grandmother is very in tune with her spiritual side. She knows when people are going to die. She can sense it. And for some reason, she can also smell it. About 2 years ago, I went to her house and was on the phone with my boyfriend. It was about 2 in the morning. The house was a 2-story, and I was upstairs watching TV in the living room, and when I walked out past the staircase, I saw a little girl in pink with a white dress and curly blonde hair. I told my boyfriend, and he said, don't think about it too much. I don't want you getting hurt. To be honest, I really didn't think much of it, but I sat in the recliner and then I looked at the kitchen and I automatically felt something rush towards me and choke me. I honestly thought I was about to die. I didn't sleep for 2 days after that, and my mental health had a very noticeable decline. It was about this time I was very into paganism, and I'm pretty sure I was not doing the candle working right. I literally don't know who I was talking to. My friend at school really didn't help me because she was a Satanist and got me into it. She made me feel like worshiping Satan was going to fix all my problems. But I started having spiritual attacks and I didn't come out of my room for about a week. She attempted suicide. She didn't want to be here anymore. My dad said during this time he was actually very uncomfortable to be around me. My dad said when he walked into a room he felt cold and dark. In June of 2022, I went to Nicaragua and I stayed there for about a month with my grandmother and grandfather. During the last 2 weeks, something weird happened. I kept having dreams about a car crash. My grandfather has a friend over in Nicaragua and her name is Gay. And this is the first time I met Gay and one of her friends. Gay's daughter had a birthday party and she was turning 5. Gay's friend was over at the party with her daughter and she seemed so happy and she was texting her husband and she was having a great time. I told her about the dream of the crash and she told me that it was probably just stress. The next day we went to her house not for fun, but to comfort her after she lost her husband in a crash the night before. Holy crap, that is so much to unpack. Oh my God, I'm so sorry you went through that. That is absolutely horrifying. That's terrifying. That is like so draining on your mental health. And that is absolutely so crazy that you literally had a premonition. I don't even know how I would react to that or like mentally how I would deal with that. That is terrifying. But thank you so much for sharing your story. I hope things are much better for you now. And I'm assuming since you're sending me your stories that you're in a better mental state now. I hope if you ever need anyone to talk to, I'm always here. You can always email me. But thank you so much for reaching out and I'm gonna move on to the next story. The next one is another one from my email and this one's titled True Scary Stories from My Rental House. Hi, I just wanted to share a few stories about the house that my family currently is renting. We moved in 2016 and things have been really odd every once in a while since we've been here. I was 24 when we moved in and my son and my husband, I'll use the name Jeffrey for privacy reasons, live with me. The first few months that we lived here, nothing crazy happened except for the light that went off in my son's bedroom. He was 2 months old and in his crib, so it was impossible for him to get to the light switch. Both me and Jeffrey saw it happen. And he was just as freaked out as I was. My son's grandfather died when he was about 1.5, so the only way he knows who he was through pictures. My son said he saw him one night sitting in a rocking chair that was in his son's room. My son was 3 when he told me this, and I believe him. Now, this is definitely one of the scariest things I've ever experienced in this house, and to this day, I can't figure out what we heard. My house has stairs that go down to the basement with a door at the top of the steps that you have to open to go downstairs. There was no lock on the handle. It's located in the kitchen, which is right beside the living room. If you can guess, the house is really small, so you can hear everything going on, and you can hear people coming up the stairs because they're very old and wooden. This is important to remember. My son had just turned 4 and he still remembers what happens to this day. Me and my son were in the living room watching a kids show on Nick Jr. when suddenly we heard someone running up the wooden stairs with loud stomps. And I mean, it was like a heavy man was thundering up the steps. Then they just stopped at the top of the stairs and the door handle on the door to the kitchen started to violently twist as if they were trying to open the door and couldn't. After about 5 seconds, it stopped. I looked at the clock and I saw that it was a little after 2 in the afternoon, and my husband didn't even get off work till about 3. I called out Jeffrey, although I already knew that it couldn't be him. There was silence. I walked to the kitchen and I grabbed a giant knife and flung open the door, but no one was there. No one could have had time to run back down the stairs, and we would have heard them anyway. No lights were on downstairs. I looked at my son and I asked him if he had heard something. He said yes. And I asked him what he had heard. He instantly went over to the door handle and started to twist it back and forth with the same noise that I heard too. Now that I know I wasn't going crazy, I went downstairs carrying the knife and checked it out to see if anyone was down there. Not surprised at all, I found nothing. After this incident, randomly, the door still shakes. More weird things that have happened involved my 2 good friends staying the night downstairs and saying they heard a child laugh in the laundry room. I don't even question it now, and I definitely believe they heard it. We have made videos downstairs, and I see orbs floating around in the videos. The most recent incident made me freak out to the point that I honestly want to move away because I've never been so terrified. I was putting together a bowl of potpourri and I put on the table for Thanksgiving. So I had essential oils out on the table in my kitchen. I was shaking some pine oil into the pieces in the basket when suddenly a small bottle of spice, essentially oil, scooted towards me. Towards, not away, like someone was pushing it at me. I literally saw it happen and I heard it sliding as it moved to me. I literally jumped back and freaked out. I inspected the bottle and no, there was no string on it, there was nothing that could have made it move, and the table is sturdy, so it wasn't some kind of earthquake that rocked the table to make it move at me, and there's no magnets on it. I wasn't even touching the table when it happened. After that, I silently freaked out and left to go shopping so I wouldn't have to stay in the house alone. The last most notable thing that happened that legit freaked me out was when I was sleeping on the couch in the living room. It was probably around 1:30 in the morning because South Park was on and I was watching it, and both Jeffrey and my son were sound asleep. To understand my living room, it's the biggest room of the house, and the hallway is in the front that leads to 2 bedrooms to the left, where my son's bedroom and my bedroom are, and to the right is where the playroom was at. Looking directly into the hall is the bathroom. You can see the door while sitting down on the couch. The TV is right beside the entryway into the hallway, and I was on the couch watching TV, and I was kind of drifting in and out of sleep, but still awake enough to watch South Park. Something made me look into the hallway, and there was a shadow of Jeffrey standing there, blocking the light from the nightlight coming in the bedroom. He said, "Hey." It was Jeffrey's voice, so I replied, "Hey honey, what's up?" I was surprised he was up, and I glanced back at the TV for a second and then back at him. And I was about to tell him to join me, but he was gone. And I mean, it was like he instantly vanished. I wasn't even looking at the TV for a second, and the floors are so loud in my house that if you're walking in the hall, they creak. So it was nearly impossible not to make noise. At this point, I was so shocked at what I had just saw and heard that I jumped up and rounded the corner into our bedroom. He was asleep. I mean, like deep snoring sleep. I checked on my son, but he was asleep too. Plus, he was about 3 feet tall, so there's no way it was him. To this day, it makes me so freaked out, wondering who had said something to me. There's a few other small things that have happened too, but this is what I wanted to share. If you're curious about more, you can message me. So definitely send me more of your stories, because those are absolutely so insane. Oh my God, I don't know what I would do if I literally saw like a shadow talk to me, because it's literally imitating your husband. That's fucking terrifying. So this is where I'm gonna end the video here. I know you guys want longer videos and longer stories, but they're being really loud upstairs, so I can't continue because it's pulling me out myself of paying attention, because I have ADHD and it's just not working. So this is where I'm going to end the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed these stories. I'm definitely going to be reading more in the next couple of days because I have quite a few emails to get through, and these are really, really amazing. And thank you so much for sending your stories. If you guys have any more scary stories, let's not meet stories, or just like creepy encounters in general that you guys want to share with me, you guys can always email me, or you can message me directly on Instagram, and I would love to read your guys' stories. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye!